This is Jamie Reynolds. Having pulled his van up to the petrol pump, he fills the tank, pays the cashier, and drives off. No panic, no rush, just another driver going about his day. Nothing about this man raises a single red flag. What nobody knew was what sat 6 feet behind the driver's seat. Lying in the dark, hidden beneath debris in the cargo area of that silver van, was 17-year-old Georgia Williams. For nearly 16 hours, Jamie had carried out his nightmare plan, from luring her over under the guise of a photo shoot to attacking her, to carefully loading her body into the back of the vehicle.
What makes this story truly chilling isn't just what he did in that house, it's what he did afterward. Over the next 2 days, while Georgia's frantic family launched a desperate search and police raced to find her, Jamie lived like a man on vacation. He bought himself a new watch, casually ate fast food, and even went to the cinema to watch a movie, all while her body lay cold in the Welsh woods. He believed he was untraceable. He believed he had outsmarted everyone.
She loved her sister, she loved doing things with us. She'd have a laugh and a joke. She got a wicked laugh.
She was my mate as much as anything. I absolutely miss her every second of the day.
This is the disturbing story of how a twisted obsession led to a senseless tragedy, and how a relentless cross-border manhunt brought a monster down before he could disappear forever.
Georgia Williams was a vibrant 17-year-old RAF Air Cadet who dreamed of becoming an RAF paramedic. Her father was a detective constable with the local West Mercia police, and Georgia was smart, cautious, and deeply trusted in her community. On the evening of May 26, 2013, she stepped out of her house in Wellington, Shropshire, telling her parents she was heading down the road to help out an acquaintance with a photo shoot. That acquaintance was 23-year-old Jamie Reynolds. To Georgia, he was just a quiet, familiar guy from the neighborhood who needed a model for a photographic project he claimed to be building.
But behind that cover story lay a terrifying obsession. Jamie hadn't invited Georgia over for a harmless photo shoot. He had lured her into his house while his mother and stepfather were away for the week, executing a dark, calculated trap he had spent months obsessing over in secret.
When Georgia walked into Jamie's house at around 7:30 p.m., she believed she was assisting an acquaintance with a creative concept for a photography portfolio. Jamie Reynolds had invited her to pose for a simulated hanging scene, asking her to dress in clothing he provided, stand on a box beneath the loft hatch, and place a loop of synthetic rope around her neck. He even convinced her to submit to being restrained with handcuffs to make the simulation look authentic. Because she trusted him and knew him through the neighborhood and her sister's social circle, she had no reason to suspect the request concealed a far darker motive. The moment Georgia was restrained and in position, Reynolds acted. He suddenly pulled the noose tight with considerable force, driving his knee into her back to force her backward as he kicked away the box. Suspending her from an oar slung across the loft opening, Reynolds watched her die over a prolonged period, taking photos with his stepfather's camera.
What followed Georgia's death revealed just how far Jamie Reynolds had planned to take his fantasy. According to the official court record and the sentencing remarks delivered by Mr. Justice Wilkie at Stafford Crown Court, the murder was a scripted, sadistic, and sexually motivated attack that Jamie had spent months preparing in secret. After Georgia died, Jamie removed the clothing he had provided for the staged photo shoot before sexually violating her body over a prolonged period. He then dragged her body through the house, arranging it in degrading positions on his bed and on the floor, while repeatedly photographing what he had done using his stepfather's camera. Those images were later recovered by investigators from an external hard drive, and became some of the most disturbing pieces of evidence presented in court.
With his dark fantasy complete, Reynolds immediately shifted into cover-up mode. He wrapped Georgia's body in plastic sheeting and blankets, carried her downstairs, and loaded her into the cargo area of his stepfather's silver Ford Transit van. He then piled tools, clutter, and a sleeping bag over her body to conceal it. After spending the rest of the night scrubbing his house to remove forensic evidence, downloading the photographs onto an external hard drive, and wiping the camera's memory card, Reynolds set off on the morning of Monday, May 27. Along his route, traveling north via the M6 corridor through Cheshire, Reynolds pulled into a service station to refuel. CCTV captured him calmly filling the tank, paying the cashier, and driving away without the slightest sign of panic or urgency, all while George's body lay hidden beneath the debris just feet behind the driver's seat. He then drove west across the Welsh border to the dense woodlands of the Nantigarth Pass near Ruthin. There, he dragged George's body into the thick undergrowth and covered it with branches and foliage.
When Reynolds tried to pull away after dumping her body, his van sank deep into the muddy verge. Unfazed, he calmly flagged down a passing driver who towed the vehicle back onto the road, completely unaware of what had just taken place.
Rather than lying low after dumping George's body, Reynolds drove into Wrexham and went to a local cinema where he watched a Fast and Furious film, the same movie he had previously tried to persuade Georgia to see with him. But Georgia had never shared his romantic interest. Already in a happy relationship with her boyfriend, Matthew Bird, she was looking forward to meeting him the following morning so they could travel together to a music festival. Although she was known as a friendly, polite, and inclusive young woman who often went out of her way to make sure others weren't left out because she herself had been bullied as a child, she had made her feelings toward Reynolds unmistakably clear. Through text messages and social media, she repeatedly told him that she saw him only as a friend and acquaintance, rejecting his romantic advances. When Georgia failed to meet Matthew the next morning and did not answer her phone, the alarm was immediately raised. Her worried parents reported her missing. Because her father was a detective constable with West Mercia Police, an urgent missing person investigation was launched immediately.
Speak direct to Georgia if I can. Georgia, if you're listening to us at this moment in time, you're not in trouble. Please contact the police or your parents. We are extremely concerned. We want to make sure you're safe and well. She went missing on Sunday the 26th of May at about 7:30 p.m.
Phone records quickly established that Georgia's last communication had been with Jamie Reynolds shortly before 8 p.m. on May 26th. Investigators later discovered that Reynolds had used her phone and password to send deceptive text messages to her mother and sister in an attempt to delay the alarm. When forensic officers searched Jamie's house, they found evidence of a violent struggle, along with clear signs of a hurried cleanup, including wiped surfaces and discarded cleaning materials. Combined with Reynolds' disappearance, the evidence prompted West Mercia Police to escalate the missing person inquiry into a full-scale murder investigation. While Georgia's family desperately searched for her back in Telford, Jamie Reynolds continued his journey north through England after disposing of her body in North Wales the previous day. Traveling along the M6 corridor, he arrived in Glasgow, Scotland, where he carried on as though nothing had happened and checked into a budget hotel under his real name.
As the investigation intensified, detectives pieced together Reynolds' movements by combining digital, physical, and technical evidence across multiple jurisdictions. Investigators identified the silver Ford Transit van belonging to his stepfather and flagged its registration on the UK's Automatic Number Plate Recognition (ANPR) network. ANPR cameras tracked the van leaving Shropshire, passing through North Wales and Cheshire, and continuing north along the M6 motorway into Scotland. CCTV footage from service stations and local businesses, together with financial records and mobile phone cell tower data, further mapped his journey. When the ANPR system confirmed the van had reached Glasgow, West Mercia Police alerted Police Scotland, whose officers located the vehicle outside a budget hotel. At 2:10 a.m. on Wednesday, May 29,
Fewer than 60 hours after Georgia entered his house, armed Scottish officers breached Reynolds' hotel room and arrested him in his bed. Although Reynolds initially refused to cooperate or reveal where he had left Georgia's body, detectives continued piecing together his movements. Following a public appeal for information about his silver Ford Transit van, a local motorist came forward to report that he had helped tow a young man driving a silver van out of the mud along the Nanty Garth Pass near Ruthin on the afternoon of May 27. Investigators cross-referenced the witness account with Reynolds' mobile phone records and sat-nav GPS data, which confirmed he had been in the same remote woodland area. Search teams were immediately dispatched to the Nanty Garth Pass, where on May 31, 2013, officers found Georgia's body lying in thick undergrowth beneath heavy branches, foliage, and woodland debris Reynolds had piled on top to conceal her from the road. She had been left completely unclothed after Reynolds removed the clothing he had forced her to wear during the attack and took it with him.
A body of a young female, has been found in woodlands in the pass near Nanty Garth in Wrexham, North Wales. At this moment in time, we haven't identified that body, but early indications do suggest it's linked to the disappearance of Georgia Williams.
As detectives examined Jamie Reynolds' computer and external hard drives, they uncovered more than 40 violent fantasy stories he had written in the months leading up to the murder. Among them was a story titled Georgia's Surprise, which explicitly named Georgia Williams and described in chilling detail her entrapment, hanging, and the post-mortem sexual abuse that followed. Prosecutors argued that the story was effectively a script for the crime, showing that Reynolds had imagined and planned the attack long before Georgia ever entered his home. Investigators also uncovered a vast collection of digital evidence, including more than 16,800 extreme images, photographic records, hard drive backups, and physical evidence such as ropes and handcuffs, leaving him with no viable defense. During sentencing, Mr. Justice Wilkie concluded that the murder was not spontaneous or opportunistic, but a carefully engineered trap created to fulfill a violent fantasy Reynolds had been obsessing over for months. On December 2, 2013, the day his murder trial was scheduled to begin at Stafford Crown Court, Reynolds formally pleaded guilty. On December 19, 2013, Mr. Justice Wilkie sentenced him to a whole life order, ruling that he posed such a serious danger that he must remain in prison for the rest of his natural life without the possibility of parole.
The best of justice has been done here today as it stands in England and Wales. And we should hold on to that fact when we come to consider influence from the European Courts of Justice. I've been proud to serve our justice system for over 20 years now, and I think we're quite capable of taking care of ourselves. On regards to the sentence, it's the best that justice can hand down at this time, and once again we're grateful to the judiciary and all its components. There is no sentence that we can ever say that we're satisfied with, because it'll never bring Georgia back. She's dead, she's gone physically, she lives in our hearts. The one thing that will always actually get to us and cause us grief is the fact that even though Jamie Reynolds is serving a full life sentence, he still has life to hang on to. He can still have contact with his parents. They can visit, exchange telephone calls, send cards to each other, touch, hold each other, see smiles. We'll never ever see that again from Georgia, and that breaks my heart every day. I'm grateful to the police, West Mercia Police and Warwickshire Police, for the excellent job that they've done in gathering all this evidence which basically no one could really argue about. I'm grateful for everyone in Telford and Wrekin area who has stood and supported us. And this is from the traders in the area who contributed to flowers and printing and supporting Georgia's trust. I'm grateful to the individuals of Telford who have sent us letters of condolence, expressing their feelings for us.
In 2014, Jamie Reynolds attempted to appeal his whole life order, arguing that his age, 23 at the time of the offense, should have prevented him from receiving a sentence that would keep him in prison for the rest of his life. However, the Court of Appeal rejected his challenge, ruling that the level of premeditation, cruelty, and danger he posed fully justified the sentence. Reynolds became one of the youngest offenders in modern British criminal history to receive a whole life order, placing him among the country's most dangerous criminals.
Following the case, an investigation by the Independent Police Complaints Commission examined how authorities had handled a 2008 incident and confirmed that major institutional failures had allowed Jamie Reynolds to escape meaningful intervention before he went on to murder Georgia Williams. At the age of 17, Reynolds lured a 16-year-old girl to his home under the false pretense of asking for help with a school project and attempted to strangle her. Despite his parents warning police about his disturbing behavior, including his obsession with violent pornography and drawings depicting girls hanging from nooses, officers treated the incident as a simple assault and issued him only a final warning. A later serious case review described the authorities' response as blinkered, finding that the failure to properly record criminal convictions, safeguarding concerns, or psychological assessments meant Reynolds effectively had no formal criminal history. Georgia Williams' parents, Stephen and Lynette Williams, condemned the outcome as far too lenient, arguing that the disciplinary process failed to hold those responsible properly accountable for the systemic failures that allowed Reynolds to remain free until he carried out their daughter's murder. 6 West Mercia police officers were later served with misconduct notices after it was revealed that failures in the system had allowed Reynolds to avoid a criminal record that may have raised concerns about him years earlier.
By the police keeping those images, that's put my life at risk, the public's life at risk, and ultimately Georgia's life at risk, because I truly believe if they had done something, if they had picked up on all the warning signs that were already there, she could still be with us today.
To preserve the memory of the vibrant young woman she was, her parents, Stephen and Lynette, established the Georgia Williams Trust. The charity provides grants for young people aged 11 to 18, supporting outdoor activities, sports, and personal development, reflecting Georgia's own passion for adventure, helping others, and community service. In her hometown of Wellington, Shropshire, a memorial bench was also placed in her honor, funded by donations from members of the community who wanted her memory to live on. Jamie Reynolds believed he had created the perfect crime. Instead, his own actions left behind a trail of digital evidence, forensic discoveries, and witness accounts that exposed the truth and brought him down in less than 60 hours. While Reynolds will spend the rest of his life behind bars, Georgia Williams' legacy lives on, not through the horror of how she died, but through the lives supported and inspired by the trust created in her name.
Georgia Williams was 17. Her mother, Lynette, wrote a book about her called Our Georgia. Her sister, Scarlett, says Georgia would have done anything for anyone, and that now she's going to do everything for her.